gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
Want to keep your gas-powered engines running like new? Stable's proprietary formulas are proven by third-party testing to outperform the competition in keeping fuel fresh, preventing corrosion, and cleaning the entire fuel system. With Stable, you can have confidence you are doing the right thing for your engine's long-term health. Just pour into your gas can or fuel tank, then top off with fresh fuel. At every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable. Available where fuel additives are sold.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
Westbound I-80. Well, the freeway is open, but it's only a left lane of traffic getting by due to a vehicle fire prior to Redwood Road. It is backing traffic to the I-15 junction, even a little bit on those transition ramps from I-15 to I-80. We've also had a crash in Davis County. This is southbound I-15 near Glover Lane in Farmington. It's out of traffic on the right. Receive 0% for 5 years on the 2024 Tucson or Elantra. When you walk through the doors, you feel like family at Murdoch Hyundai in Logan, Linden, Murray, or online at murdochhyundai.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, it looks like the big thunderstorms are over for now. We've got clouds again today, but we're not going to see the big ones like yesterday. High of 88, and right now 79 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
In the landscape of American politics, religious rhetoric remains a powerful and persistent force, even as the nation grows increasingly diverse and secular. Recent statements by both the current and the former president highlighted the enduring role of religious language in shaping public discourse and political narratives. The phenomenon reflects a deep-rooted tradition in American history that appeals to higher power in times that we need comfort or we need to inspire the citizens, or sometimes it even serves the opposite effect and divides the nation. The question beyond the headlines is, what does this mean in a country that's becoming increasingly secular? Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
This is a conversation I have so been looking forward to. It's one that is laid out perfectly in a piece by Asma Udine in Deseret or Deseret.com. Asma is a scholar and advocate specializing in religious liberty and Muslim identity in America. Her work explores the intricate dynamics surrounding faith, polarization, and being a religious minority in the modern era. And Asma, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So let's dive into this. Obviously, there's been a few things over the course of the last month where you had the current president talking about only changing if it was divine intervention, and the former president, of course, escaping an assassin's bullet and attributing that to heavenly powers. Give us a little sense as you've dug into this. I love your whole approach in terms of where the language comes from and then the impact that it has on us, not just in political terms, but in how we interact with each other in community.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is that when politicians, including presidential candidates, refer to religion to either justify some of their positions or to sort of add drama to experiences that things that sort of color their campaign, that type of stuff that we've seen with Trump and Biden. They're using religion in very strategic ways. And sometimes it works, and often it works with a certain subset of Americans while angering many other Americans. And so there was a lot of news coverage and private conversation about some of these statements, or what is meant there, and is this appropriate, the way that religion or God is being invoked. So I thought I'd reflect on that a bit.
Yeah, and so unpack that a little bit for us as you dug into it and looked at both historically. Clearly, you can go back to a host of different moments in American history where that kind of language has been used to either inspire the nation or consolidate in a time of mourning. Give us some sense of that, and then I want to start unpacking in terms of what that means for us today and what we should be looking at moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, even though those references by Trump and Biden were kind of seen as appropriate or inappropriate or curious, at least, by many people, what my piece does is just root them in a much longer history. They're going back to America's founding of religious references to understand who we are as Americans or to justify particular policies or the reasons why we're not engaging other policies. And so we can take it back to our founding era, our sort of historical origins. The concept of sort of America as divinely favored has roots in the Puritans' idea of America as a city upon a hill. We have this idea of like that, this is a chosen nation, something like, sort of a parallel to the biblical concept of Israel as a chosen nation, that the United States is that sort of chosen nation. And then you see this coming up in very concrete ways. For example, in the 19th century, American exceptionalism fueled this idea of a manifest destiny, right? The belief that America was destined to expand across the continent. We've seen that idea sort of justify policies around isolationism, right? Sort of the belief that America should stay out of certain world conflicts, and also interventionism. It's been used to justify our intervention in other conflicts. So it's been used in both ways. We've seen that in the way that America promotes democracy and sort of justifies our role and the sort of necessity of that promotion abroad. Is very much rooted in this idea that this is our unique position. We are a chosen nation, and we have something special to offer to other people.
Yeah, and I do find it interesting, too, that clearly using that kind of language has been used both for good and for ill over our history. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you about today, Uzma, is that this whole idea that I think part of our challenge in the polarization part, and I know you get into this, it seems to me that because we have so deified our politics and many of our politicians, and we've politicized many of our faith spaces, churches and mosques and so on. Give us a sense in terms of how do we get to the right center point there in terms of language that is both inclusive, but is also part of that having, I always say, faith in the future of the country requires faith in the future of the country. And you've talked about that both in terms of religious minority communities. How do we make sure we're not allowing our faith language to just be absconded by, people who may have ulterior motives, but how do we use it to actually help unite the nation?
Yeah, I think that's a big question. And I think, the fact is that faith and religion across specific religions have a lot of things in common, right? There's core values, universal values, and one way to be a unifying force is to sort of tap into universal values or shared national experiences. Unfortunately, and especially today, religion tends to feel either exclusionary to the people who are not. If the religious language is tied to a particular religion, then it has the benefit of sort of generating a sense of connection among the people who share that religion. But then it makes those of different faiths feel excluded, as somehow they're not part of sort of the national fabric, right? And those who have no religious affiliation, which is a very sort of core phenomenon in America today with the rising number of so-called nones, N-O-N-E-S, people without religious affiliations, it can seem kind of irrelevant or off-putting, if not completely exclusionary. And so to rise above sort of like this inherent sort of divisiveness that can be generated with particular sorts of references to faith, it's really important that they be universalized. and that the ideas are sort of common to all humanity across religions, really be the way to sort of speak to the American people.
Yeah, and it seems to me that starts with a lot of the dignity of that, whether someone is a believer or a non-believer, that dignity tends to lead to that humanity that you spoke of, and even the divinity as well. I think it's an interesting combination. Asma Uddin, scholar and attorney specializing in religious liberty, Muslim identity in America. Great piece you can check out at Deseret.com. Got me thinking about a whole host of things and thinking again about some things that I thought I understood. And Asma, thanks so much for joining us today.
Great, thank you.
Again, that's Asma Uddin joining us. It's really a great piece in terms of the rich history in terms of religious language and areas where, again, politicians have used it for good, unifying types of things, and also used it for ill, to divide and to polarize. And so to me, it's an interesting look, and I always keep going back to this idea of have we deified our politics and our politicians, and at the same time, have we so politicized our faith spaces, our churches, our mosques, our synagogues, that's creating a lot of the division and the divisiveness. But what we say matters, how we say it matters, and having faith in the public square, being able to bring that whole authentic self into the public square to have conversations is actually what will help us get to the dignity of others, especially those we disagree with, the humanity of all, and as I always say, it is about the divinity that we share as travelers here on planet Earth. We'll be right back.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. It's that time. Back to basics and back to back-to-back classes. For some, school starts this week. Depend on this station to keep you moving with traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s. We have you covered for back to school, mornings and afternoons on KSL News Radio.
That's a great time for you to evaluate your retirement options, and there's nowhere better to do that than with Hercules Credit Union. They've been doing this since 1946. They're always about growing stronger together. You're never seen as a transaction with Hercules. It's a relationship. It's a relationship, and right now you can take advantage of that relationship at Hercules Credit Union and really look at your retirement options with a free consultation to help you understand what you need to do to have confidence in your financial future. Other great options at Hercules Credit Union. You can open a new account right now, and they will deposit $150 into your account when you get direct deposit. Great way to get things rolling as you start into the fall. With Hercules Credit Union, you can find their locations in Taylorsville, Harriman, and Riverton. And as always with their friends at Hercules, you can find them online. Just go to HerculesCU.com. That's HerculesCU.com.
Introducing Peach Doors and Windows. Are you ready to upgrade your home with stunning new windows but are overwhelmed with how to begin? Look no further than Peach Windows. You know at Peach, they are all about giving you options. Peach offers a wide selection of wood windows, sleek modern black metal frames, European tilt and turn windows, plus much, much more. It's not just about looks, it's about durability and security to protect what matters most. Let them help you find the perfect match for your home, budget, and personal style. Visit their showroom and see for yourself. No pushy sales tactics, only guidance from their experienced staff. No inflated markups just to offer so-called discounts. See their 5-star reviews where customers rate them on their attention to detail through every step of the sale and installation process. Amazing home transformations begin with windows and doors. Serving Logan to St. George, just Google Peach Building to see for yourself.
Life hack number 7. Get an iPhone 12 on Straight Talk.
Life hack.
Here's how it works. You walk into Walmart, go to the electronics section, ask for iPhone 12 with 5G and a dual camera system, and select the new Silver Unlimited plan. They'll smile because it's a good plan. You get real unlimited data all for just $20 a month for the whole first year. Get it at Walmart or StraightTalk.com. Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Taxes and fees apply. Requires activation of iPhone 12 on a new Silver Unlimited plan or higher end auto pay enrollment. $25 a month service credit applied for up to 12 months if eligibility requirements are met. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com.
As fall approaches, you have a lot to prepare for. Back to school, sporting events, family gatherings, and staying on top of your health. The virus that causes COVID-19 continues to evolve. So this fall, no matter what you're prepping for, you can prioritize your family's health. and make a game plan for COVID-19 vaccination. Ask your doctor or pharmacist to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson.
Our goal every day on Inside Sources is to help you divide the rage from the reason, elevate the conversation, connect the dots, and make the news make sense in your world. We have conversations with great thinkers, with great leaders, and great people who are just out there making a difference in the world. Now, we do talk about politics, but only so we can discuss society and culture. And then we explore society and culture so we can discuss principles and the people in America and the state of Utah who actually live them and apply them every day. We bring the best and brightest minds to the state of Utah, and we love to take the Utah model and send it out to our nation's capital and beyond. Every day on Inside Sources, you'll be part of that conversation. To help you understand things in a different way, we'll get you to think again about what you think you know, but most important, we're going to help you have confidence to have crucial conversations in your community and in your own home.
Join Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel you attract people who tend to be compulsive or abusive?
Do you have money problems because of someone else's drinking?
Are you afraid or embarrassed to bring your friends home?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
More than half of all adults have a family history of alcoholism.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Social Security is with you through life's journey from birth to retirement. As your life changes year to year, so do your needs. For over 80 years, Social Security has helped to meet your needs and is committed to improving access to the services that make a difference in your life. Today, you can verify your earnings, estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, manage your benefits, and even change your address, all from the comfort of your home. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Mom and Dad used to argue about everything, especially about Dad's drinking. It drove me crazy. It got so bad, I couldn't do my homework. I couldn't concentrate. I absolutely refused to let any of my friends come to our house for any reason. I would have been humiliated if anyone found out how much my dad drank and how loud my mom screamed at him. My family went from totally crazy to quiet, calm, and even peaceful. The only thing that happened is my mom started going to Al-Anon family groups. Her relationship with my dad really changed. I asked Mom if she would take me to her Al-Anon meetings or to Alateen. I wanted to see if I could have a better relationship with my dad. I'm sure glad I did. If someone's drinking troubling you, you might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-Anon or Alateen family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-ALANON or go to alanon.org.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer: the drug facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the drug facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/drug facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Phil Lyman saying now he'll run as a write-in candidate. The Utah Supreme Court ruled against his petition to put him on the ballot as the Republican. Second, President Biden joked with digital media creators today that he's going into their industry when he retires. And third, inflation running at a slightly slower pace in Utah than the rest of the country over the past year. 79 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. Great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson. As we start looking forward to the Democrat National Convention, kicks off on Monday of next week in Chicago, Illinois. There'll be a lot to talk about. There'll be a lot to look towards. There's been a lot of interesting battles going back and forth in terms of who's messaging about what rolling into the convention, what the Democrats should be focused on, what the Republicans should have as their counter narrative to what's going on, what former President Trump is saying, what the Vice President Kamala Harris should be saying rolling into what is really her convention. It's all going to be interesting, and we're going to break all of that down as we roll through the day today and the next several days leading into Chicago and what will take place there. One of the interesting things in terms of the backdrop, there's been a lot of conversations around potential protests going on. Some are saying expecting upwards of 30,000 protesters to be there, primarily relating to the Hamas-Israel war and what is taking place there. We know they've even set up special places to process those who may be arrested in a skirmish or an incident as part of those protests, and a way that they're going to move them through quickly so they can get them processed back out and returned to wherever they want to go, which I think will be back to the protests. So that's going to be an interesting thing for the city of Chicago to deal with. And in the midst of all of these different conversations in terms of what should the Democrats be highlighting, what should the Republicans should be countering with, I think one of the things that's been missing until this morning when our friend George Will wrote in the Post, Washington Post, some of the things that are pretty glaring and hard to ignore when it comes at looking at the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago in particular. And I think that becomes a challenging one. And if you're a Republican strategist, it seems like somebody ought to be saying, just look at where they're having the convention and what has happened. Of course, the Democratic Party has really had a vice grip-like hold on the state of Illinois for a long time. And it's always interesting to see how things ebb and flow. Of course, it was the land of Lincoln for a lot of years, and then the Democrats have been in control for a long, long time in Illinois party politics. And so the interesting thing to look at from a messaging standpoint is the numbers of it all. Purely looking at the number, the population of Illinois has declined for 10 consecutive years. There's only 3 states, Mississippi and West Virginia and Illinois, that have that as a so-called claim to fame. 230,000 have left just in the last decade. Since 2000, 1.5 million have left. And really interesting to me, these are folks who have left the state of Illinois not to go to some, Sun Belt kind of place, but just in the states right around Illinois. So that tends to tell you the impact there. Illinois also leads the nation in net losses of households making more than $200,000. So that part, I think, because of the high tax rate and the property tax rate there is also proving to be a problem. Another interesting thing is in education and spending, and this is a really interesting one to me. So Illinois spends about $24,000 per pupil. That is about double what we pay here in the Beehive State. And yet, only 35% of the students read at grade level in Illinois. Let me say that again. 35% of students in Illinois read at grade level, despite the fact that they spend twice as much as we spend here in the Beehive State. Only 27% are proficient in math. And yet they celebrate the state's high graduation rate, 87.6% graduate. But what are they graduating with is the bigger question. And so there's a host of things that are challenging inside the state of Illinois that, again, has been run by the Democrats in that state for decades and decades and decades. Again, if you're looking at it purely from a communication strategy standpoint, it seems like the Republicans would go to that space and say, look at the results. Not look at the rhetoric, look at the results. What are they producing? And they aren't producing a lot of good things in terms of upward mobility, opportunity, entrepreneurship. They're just flailing and floundering in all of those spaces. So an interesting backdrop, I think, for the Democrats to make their case, especially as it relates to the economy. And we're going to jump into that a little later in the show today in terms of the economics and what that's going to mean in terms of both campaigns. What is it that Vice President Harris will run on as she becomes the top of the ticket? How much of that will be a Biden-Harris economy and Bidenomics? How does she make that pivot? And then, of course, both Vice President Harris and former President Trump are having a dueling battle that we discussed yesterday about not taxing tips, which they both conveniently did at campaign rallies in Las Vegas. So that was clearly a political move on both parts, not real policy in terms of what needs to happen next. All right, we're going to go ahead and step aside for some bottom-of-the-hour news, but don't go anywhere. As I mentioned, when we come back, we are going to get to the economic policy of it all and where that discussion needs to go and where it's likely to go. Coming up next. Stick around.
It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Alpine School District's Board of Education voted in favor of a 7% tax increase last night. The Alpine District Communications Director, Rich Stoll, says there are some issues that need to be funded immediately in spite of the possibility of a district split.
To fund a building fund and reducing class sizes is imperative right now, and it's irrespective of any other issue facing the district.
The issue of a district split will be addressed in November. Until then, the district says it needs to reduce class sizes and prepare for an additional high school on the western part of Utah County. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. New York's Nassau County on Long Island has made it illegal to wear a mask in public. County executive says people have been using masks to commit crimes from carjacking to bank robbery. Violators could face fines up to $1,000. There are exemptions for health and religious reasons. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up 222 points right now, but the NASDAQ is slipped. It's down 51. And our KSL weather, well, we've got some rain out of those thick clouds this afternoon. That's next. KSL News Time, 1:31.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. Over the years, I've talked a lot about hard water. It takes years off the life of water heaters and other appliances in your home. Leaves scum on the shower walls, and you almost need a jackhammer to remove that. I've talked about how Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer, their water softeners are maintenance-free. You just don't need adjustment, and they do the job with 2/3 less salt than other softeners. But today, I want to talk about the exhilarating feeling of stepping into a hot bath or shower and feeling that pure, soft water cascade over your skin. It feels like every pore in your body wants to stand up and start singing. And afterward, there are no itchy hard water deposits sticking all over you. You really should look into a soft water system from Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer. You can learn more about Connecticut by giving them a call at 801-576-8600 or log on to Softwater Utah. Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer. Then sit back and enjoy your shower even more.
For over 22 years, speaking on business on KSL News Radio has been a beloved tradition, celebrating our heroic business leaders and Utah consumers who have helped build one of the strongest state economies in the nation. Now, under the stewardship of the Salt Lake Chamber and hosted by Chamber President and CEO Derek Miller, the program continues to shine a spotlight on those who make Utah's business environment dynamic and thriving. With his expertise and passion, Derek brings the stories of our business community to life. As part of the Salt Lake Chamber, Speaking on Business is proud to continue its legacy of highlighting inspiring stories, trends, and special guests. Support Utah businesses now and be part of Utah's thriving economy. More information can be found at slchamber.com. That's slchamber.com.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let the tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, they'll fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
I'm afraid the rain has not left us completely. In fact, we have a lot of wet roads and rain that continues to come down in the Salt Lake, South Salt Lake, Murray, Mill Creek, Taylorsville, West Valley area. It seems to be moving from the west to the east, and it is soaking the roads right now. A lot of water on I-80 between I-15 and about 1300 East. And we have the final cleanup of an earlier vehicle fire. This is over to the right shoulder, westbound I-80, approaching Redwood Road. Fill up your bucket list in Box Elder County. History, recreation, wildlife, excellent dining and shopping await you. Learn more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Sponsored by the Utah Office of Tourism. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And it looks like we're going to get some rain this afternoon, already falling in many areas. We'll also see a high of 88. Partly cloudy tomorrow and Friday with highs rising into the 90s. And right now we're at 74 degrees with a rain shower. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources.
Inside Sources.
America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson.
On Utah's home for elevated conversation.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris are set to take their economic messages to the crucial swing state of North Carolina this week. And recent polls, of course, are showing a tight race in key battleground states, as well as on the trust factor when it comes to the two candidates on dealing with the economy. And while they have competing visions for America's financial future, those are going to play a big role in shaping the direction of the campaign as we move past Labor Day and into the fall. Both camps are getting ready to unveil these plans, tackle inflation, boost the economy. Stage is set for a pretty robust debate on the best path forward for our nation's economy. I think it's very important to recognize that when voters are asked about the most important issues, of course, it's always it's the economy, stupid result. But it's interesting, 64% of Americans said that dealing with inflation, is a severe problem, a significant problem that needs to be prioritized and addressed. And so who is best to do that? I think neither the former president or the current vice president are doing swimmingly when it comes to trust in that. But it's also interesting that they're pretty much dead even. Vice President Harris actually has a slight advantage in terms of the trust factor when it comes to dealing with the nation's economy. That's significant because when compared to President Biden, that same poll suggested that just 35% of voters trusted Joe Biden more than they did Donald Trump to manage the economy. So I'm going to be watching very closely over the next several days. We'll have the former president will unveil his a little later this afternoon. in North Carolina. And then Vice President Harris has teed up her big reveal in terms of some economic policy for Friday, also in North Carolina. So we sort of have these dueling visions in terms of what goes on. We talked yesterday and a little bit today about one thing that is uniting them when it comes to the economy, and that is getting rid of the tax on tips. And if you missed our conversation yesterday, we had an important one because this is one of those areas where it sounds good and it might get you some votes, but the reality of that is pretty murky and might even be counterproductive for the very people you're trying to court and say this is going to help you. It may actually hurt them. And that's why we have to get to the real issue in terms of policy when it comes to what's happening in the economy. And this is an area that I think it will be very fascinating to watch how Vice President Harris addresses all of this. It was the biggest challenge for Joe Biden to navigate numbers that are getting better. So, for instance, today, the inflation rate dipped under 3%. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have any inflation. It did go down, but inflation didn't go down. It's just the rate of inflation went down. And so that is a messaging issue that you have to deal with because you can tout it and say, and I'm sure the vice president will say this, that it is at its lowest point. But what she's saying is that the increase is at its lowest point than it's been for a long time. And so where that becomes a problem and trouble for the Harris campaign is when it comes to what the American people are experiencing themselves. And so she has to walk this very fine line of wanting to tout that, hey, things are getting better, but I know your costs are still going up. So the rate of the increase of your costs in your home are smaller than they were last month or the month before, but it's still going up. And that's what most of the American people are feeling and saying, wait a minute, don't tell me everything's great because I'm still trying to figure out how to buy all my groceries and my kids' back to school supplies and clothes and all those things that the costs continue to go up. And while the rate of inflation has cooled, inflation is still a thing. And so that's a tough one because it becomes incongruent, and then that becomes a trust factor problem. And I think that's why President Biden's numbers have been so low in this category, is because people say, you're telling me this, but I'm living something different than that. So even when you can try to tell a good story, and I'm not saying that it's a lie or a spin, it's just focusing on a portion of the number that isn't congruent with the reality of what most people are experiencing. And so that's going to be the test for the vice president. For the former president, the test will be, will he actually deliver an economic message in his speech today in North Carolina? Or will it be a big rally kind of speech with a few economic things and chants and cheers around drill, baby, drill, or USA chants that are going to carry the day? Those things are fine. Those are things, that's all good at a political rally, no problem. However, you got to get underneath it. You got to get to the specifics of how you're going to do that. What is it going to mean? What is the impact going to be? Because if we don't get to that part of the conversation, all of this is smoke and mirrors, and none of it's going to lead to anything that's going to make a difference for you or me or for the rest of the country. So, as always, we will be equal opportunity offenders, and we will be equal opportunity commenders. For the principles and the policies they get right, we'll call them out, we'll showcase them, we'll show them. And areas where they're up in the night, or maybe they're selling something that may sound good in an election campaign, but are impossible in terms of real governing and serious solutions. Some of the protectionism, some of the, again, this whole idea, this dueling battle we have over whose idea was it to eliminate the tax on tips. I mean, that is completely unserious. And it will hurt those who depend on tips the most in the end. That will be the net result. It sounds good up front, but tipping for those who should be tipped will continue to go down because then everybody's going to get tipped. And the American consumer says, I can't take it anymore. We even talked about this yesterday. I mean, if you're standing in line at a fast food restaurant and you're doing it on your screen, you're placing your own order on a screen, and it asks you if you want a tip before you even get anything, Americans get pretty tired of that pretty fast. And so who's that going to hurt? Well, it's actually going to end up hurting the people in the restaurant businesses who actually do a really good job and deserve a tip, and who are probably most dependent on tips. And so it's the laws of unintended consequences that often end up carrying the day there. So we will take a hard look at both what the former president and the current vice president have to say in terms of their economic policy and strategies. What are the animating principles as those take place today and on Friday? And we'll make sure you can unpack it all and connect the dots and see what actually makes dollars and cents make sense when it comes to what each campaign and each candidate says they're going to do for you and for the country in the year ahead. All right, we'll step aside for a quick break. When we come back, of course, it's back to school time, and there's a lot of stressors, a lot of uncertainty, a little bit of angst as young people head their way back. So we're going to go to our inside source. Jenny Howe is going to help us break that down and make sure we're doing the right things to help our young people thrive and succeed in a new school year. We'll be right back.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
If it's a door-to-door salesman, buyer beware. Hi, this is Jason.
And Kathy of Window World.
Answer that door and prepare for some serious baloney.
You know, overpriced, but on sale today.
Big special.
Manager's discount.
Model home in the neighborhood.
Remember, the sale ends today.
Hey, it's all baloney.
Window World's different.
Check windowworldutah.com.
Or call 801-281-8111.
Window World. Simply the best for less.
And as Doug always said,
that's no baloney.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by September 2nd, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Want to keep your gas-powered engines running like new? Stable's proprietary formulas are proven by third-party testing to outperform the competition in keeping fuel fresh, preventing corrosion, and cleaning the entire fuel system. With Stable, you can have confidence you are doing the right thing for your engine's long-term health. Just pour into your gas can or fuel tank, then top off with fresh fuel. At every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable. Available where fuel additives are sold.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
911, what's your emergency?
Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son.
On September 12, 1995, McKay Everett disappeared from his home in Conroe, Texas.
There was no sign of forced entry. It was just as if McKay had walked out of his own free will.
And to this day, McKay's mother, Paulette, feels that justice was never truly served. Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with an SPF of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the Alpine School District is planning a tax increase, even as voters consider splitting the district into three. Second, almost half the kids in Utah with serious mental health or emotional issues say they haven't talked to anyone about it. And third, one county in New York has made it illegal to wear a mask in public. 74 degrees with a rain shower right now. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Get deeper insights on the news from Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. Great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson. And, of course, it is back to school time for kids all over the country, across the state. And I'm quite certain that parents and grandparents and guardians, as well as students and teachers and administrators, are all getting ready and probably each in their own way experiencing a little bit of angst, maybe a little bit of fear or frustration or worry as they return to school. It is a transitional period for everybody involved in this process. And so we want to have a conversation about how do we make sure we stay in touch with the mental health component to all of this. Sometimes we're so worried about what the new, class schedule is or how we're going to get, from school to swim team or whatever it might be. And so we want to get into some of the things underneath the hood there in terms of a good mental health check as we roll into the new school year. So, of course, we turn to the ultimate insight source for us, Jenny Howell, mental health counselor here in Utah. And Jenny, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Boyd. Happy to be here.
All right, so give us some sense. Let's start with the students. First, last, and always. They're the ones who are really under the gun here. Give us a sense of what they're experiencing and what you're experiencing with some of your clients of things that we should be aware of.
Yeah, I think, anxiety is always such a normal part of any transition, right? And back to school is no different than any other transition. I think this year, a lot of my clients are really feeling like school's starting a little earlier. I don't know if it's just I'm getting older or school starting earlier, but this idea that they can still incorporate time to relax in their life. School starting brings welcome changes of routine and schedules, but I think a lot of my clients are really trying to figure out how they can incorporate a little bit more rest inside the busyness of the schedule. And I think this summer, for the first time, a lot of my clients are really feeling like everything was open and routines were back to normal and they got some peace. And now, they want to keep that moving forward in their life.
Yeah. And so as they start to do that and We always say at our house, the plan is great until the first day of school.
Yeah,
And then
totally.
you hit the first big assignment or the first big spat with your best friend or a breakup or a teacher that just seems to not like you. How do we help our young people navigate some of those natural setbacks that are part of what education and learning is about?
I think the best thing that we can do, especially with our teenagers, is not over prepare them for all the potential catastrophes. Let them know that the transitions involve a lot of uncertainty and there's going to be a lot of things that you don't expect, but to kind of expect the fact that you are going to feel a little anxious and unsettled about things for a little while. And I think something I really see a lot of my clients' parents doing, because generally it's the parents that are doing this part, is they're trying to fix and over-prepare before any of these potential catastrophes begin. So, if your kid doesn't have his very best friend in lunch on the first day of 7th grade, I'll have parents that are wanting to go in and change the schedule to make sure that the best friend is there, rather than having the child kind of either make new friends or figure it out or develop, autonomy and trying to establish new relationships. So I want parents to kind of think about taking a step back and really normalizing the anxiety and the transition and the figuring things out that happens, at the beginning of every school year.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so important. I think we're so worried about kind of bubble wrapping everything. We always like to say it's, we should celebrate scar tissue, when you're
exactly.
when you have that. And sometimes that can be that the best friend isn't there for your lunch period and help us navigate. I think one other area where I think as parents we tend to create a negative space is if our child comes home on that first day and they're convinced that the teacher hates them or that they're not, it's not fair, or this is going to be a disaster all year. And sometimes as parents, we immediately jump on side because we want to be on their side and show that support. But help us navigate that a little more effectively.
I think there's two main things that I tell parents when their kids are coming home with some sort of distress, especially new distress, right? Uncertainty. The first thing is you're in charge as the parent of being the co-regulator. So if you match them with their anxiety level and then some, all you're doing is feeding that monster and creating more anxiety. So when your kids are coming to you in distress, your job is to be that force of calm. Your job is to kind of table your emotions. Again, you can label them oh, honey, that would make me anxious too. I hear you. But when you add to the anxiety by rushing to a fix, that just really increases the anxiety for your child. And the second thing that I think we, myself included, I always have to include myself in this, do wrong is we question, well, what happened? What did they say? How did that work? What did you do next? And that really can add to feelings of being overwhelmed when somebody is distressed or anxious. So a quick therapy tip is rather than questioning, just say, hey, tell me more. Tell me more about how you're feeling right now. Where are you feeling that in your body? So rather than jumping into solutions, let's just process the emotion of it and let the child calm down before we feel like we need to do anything next.
Oh, that is so vital. I'm so glad you went down that path. My brain's been spinning as you've been talking about that because often we react to their anger or angst or frustration with anger and angst and frustration instead of responding maybe with deeper interests or an intensity of compassion without just trying to buy in, because then everything just boils over and then you're just, like you said, you're either just trying to come up with quick fixes that actually don't end up being fixes in the end.
Exactly. I mean, in my business, we always talk about curiosity creating compassion, right? When we become more curious about something, then that person feels seen, they feel heard, they have an opportunity to describe their feelings. And often within just a few short minutes, they become more rational and they're like, yeah, the teacher wasn't actually that bad. I think I was a little nervous and I didn't do this right and I'm feeling this way. But when we become just reactive and problem solving, we miss the whole part for the person, the child in this case, getting to that conclusion themselves. We just jump in and overtake.
Yeah, so important. Give us one last tip or one last thing to think about as we send the kids into a new school year and some of those new situations. What's something that we often miss, or maybe something just a little under the surface that can be a big help in helping our children function rather than from a position of weakness or a defensive crouch that I think they're often in, especially as teenagers, but to function from a position of strength?
I think the best thing that we can do to combat like feelings of victimness or feelings of, crouching into like, oh, I don't know if I can handle this, is to create empowerment. And we only create confidence by giving them some space and autonomy to figure it out by themselves. So the thing that I have been saying to parents like this entire week as school is full-blown starting, I think today for a lot of districts, tomorrow for some, is let's just let anxiety be a companion with us. So rather than shoving anxiety into the trunk, rather than putting it in the driver's seat, how can we welcome and embrace this idea that we're all going to feel a little bit anxious right now? And how can we learn to befriend it and carry it with us? And I know that sounds kind of ambiguous, but I think the more that we focus on entertaining these negative emotions that we label as companions rather than things we need to get rid of, it really gives our kids the skill to process their own emotions, which, that's what we want for our adult children.
Yeah, and for us as adults as well.
And for me. Exactly.
Yeah, for me. As always, Jenny Howe is the best of the best. You can check out her website at jennyhowconsulting.com. Nobody better in this space. Jenny, thanks for helping me navigate this along with everyone else today. We look forward to having you back soon.
Thanks, Boyd. Have a good day.
All right. Great way to lean in as you begin a new school year. Whether you're a parent, a guardian, a grandparent, a good friend, a cousin, an uncle, whatever it may be, there's lots of things we can do to help our young people thrive and succeed. But we have to be very intentional about how we go about it. All right. That wraps up hour number 1 of Inside Sources. We'll be right back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Utah's rate of inflation is growing more slowly than the rest of the country. It grew at 2% year over year compared to 2.9% nationally. Financial experts say it's because of lower taxes and money-savvy habits by consumers. Intermountain Children's Health says 1 in 5 children suffer from mental or emotional disorders. The change to back to school can make that a bigger problem. Director of Behavioral Health, Ashley Sly, says she has some advice for parents.
It's also really important to model enthusiasm and help them get excited about the change. Talk to them about what they're looking forward to.
Warning signs to look out for, though, are changes in behavior, withdrawal from friends, and trouble coping. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A police officer in Ohio is now facing criminal charges, including murder, for fatally shooting a pregnant black woman. Officer Connor Grubb shot and killed Takia Young after she was suspected of shoplifting from a grocery store. Young had been ordered out of her car. She drove toward Officer Grubb, who fired a single shot through the windshield, killed her and her unborn baby. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day now, 242 points as we approach the close of trading. The NASDAQ is up, but just about 5 points is all. And our KSL weather, we got a little bit of rain this afternoon. That's next. KSL News Time 2:01.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
We have some exciting news to announce.
Master Electrical Service has joined Mountain Home Services.
And I can speak from experience, Deb. Mountain Home Services installed my furnace years ago, and it's been amazing.
And we know Master Electrical Service has been your trusted source for all your electrical needs, like your EV chargers, your generators, and recessed lighting.
But now that they've joined Mountain Home Services, they can help you with your HVAC, your heating and air, as well as your plumbing.
And it comes with that upfront pricing guarantee. I love the upfront pricing guarantee because it means no hidden fees.
100% satisfaction guarantee as well.
Master Electrical Service has been the name you trust since 1954.
They're the company we trust, and so can you.
Check them out now at mountainhomeutah.com.
That's mountainhomeutah.com, or give them a call at 801-543-2222. So easy to remember, 801-543-2222.
Dave and Debbie.
It's impossible to digest and consume all of the news that's now coming at us through either social media or through web pages or through the radio. Pick what is most impactful in your life and focus on that. And that's what Dave and I do every single morning. We pick those issues that are most important to our listeners and we boil it down so it's digestible. It's simple to understand.
I think we're trying to find the essence of the story. You know, you can't be an expert on all things, but that doesn't mean you can't be curious and really find out more and educate yourself and learn the complexities of an issue. But I think all of us start at ground zero on everything. Ask questions, show that curiosity.
And then if you need more research, you can always go to KSLNewsRadio.com and learn more.
Listen for Dave and Dejanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
We do have freeways drying out from the rain that came through. No accidents there, and Salt Lake County freeways seeing a delay-free drive. Salt Lake City PD wrapping up a crash at Main Street and 1700 South. It's time to get your tickets for Utah Symphony and Utah Opera this season. Right now, get the best available main floor seats for just $25 at usuo.org/on-sale. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Looks like we're getting some rain this afternoon. We'll see high around 88. Partly cloudy tomorrow and Friday with highs rising into the 90s. And right now, 79 degrees. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, as the world grapples with and sometimes ignores one of the worst humanitarian crises in recent memory, Utah finds itself at the front of a crucial dialogue when it comes to Sudan. His Excellency, Ambassador Al-Harith Idris Al-Harith Mohammed of Sudan, was in the Beehive State today, and we had an opportunity to sit down and talk about his visit to Utah, the rare opportunity to gain firsthand insight into the complex situation unfolding in Sudan, and unique organizations and individuals in the state of Utah who are making a difference. We're grateful, as always, to our friends at World Trade Center Utah, also the Sterling Foundation, and a good friend of the show, Miles Hansen, and then the great work by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who have donated millions of dollars, $12 million specifically, to Sudan in various forms of aid and things that are making a difference in a unique way. And that led to a fascinating conversation about what we think we know about Sudan, what we think we know about the role of government and the role of faith organizations around the world to actually make a difference. Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
We are very thrilled to have joining us in studio today His Excellency Ambassador Idris from Sudan to the UN. And Mr. Ambassador, welcome to the state of Utah and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to get a little sense in terms of what is going on in Sudan. Obviously, civil war, we hear a lot of the challenges that are there, but I don't think a lot of people got up this morning wondering, okay, what's happening in Sudan and why does it matter? How can we make a difference? So give us just a little bit of the backstory in terms of the civil war and what is happening in terms of humanitarian crisis.
Yes, it's far beyond this. It's a war of aggression, sponsored and planned by evil powers in order to control Sudan. And they had local proxies, in particular the militia, who started waging war on the army on the 15th of April, with a view to controlling Sudan within 72 hours, and it went wrong, and they couldn't, it doesn't materialize, so they started opening fire on citizens, infrastructure, hospitals, universities, dispersing people, attacking farmers, and attacking citizens in the towns and villages, and widening the displacement tragedy. And then there are many actors, regional and international, participating in this war of aggression.
Yeah, and of course the ultimate downside to that kind of war of aggression is the innocence, the humanitarian crisis that always follows that kind of conflict. Give us a sense of how that looks today.
Yes, the humanitarian crisis is huge and unprecedented because of the amplitude of the war itself, and because of the arms, sophisticated arms being used, and the destruction. And even the militia has managed to import, so to speak, foreigners to live in the houses of the people in Khartoum. And this has caused wide internal displacement in millions people who took refuge with their local rural families without any considerable or any aid or living means. And this is why we are actually appealing to the international community and to the also Utah people to come forward and to come up with a lifting hand to help us attenuate the rigor of this displacement.
Yeah, and as you look at that, obviously you've reached out internationally here in the U.S. As well to all kinds of organizations, NGOs, governments, private organizations. Give us a sense in terms of what that aid, what that help looks like.
I am disappointed because the international aid coming from the donors has not been conducive to alleviating the needs of the Sudanese in the internal displacement, and it has been highly politicized, and I say it's unproductive. Sometimes they don't have anything on the field, and they just exert pressure or levy pressure on the government to give them access of fanciful roads and other cross-border that would impact adversely the national security of the country. So we are resorting to bilateral aid from countries in the Middle East and in the Gulf, including autonomous like Jesus Christ Church, who are doing a very good job in Sudan with their representative, and they are actually ready to widen the scope of their aid to help the Sudanese meet the needs that they wanted during this ugly war.
Yeah. Tell us about some of the things and some of that connection. Many people find it fascinating that you're from Sudan to the United Nations, out here to Utah, and this interesting connection with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We know there's been significant dollars and aid that has gone in. Just describe the partnership and why it seems to be one that's actually working and producing the right things for the people of Sudan.
Profane partnership with the international community did not work, and we are seeking other ways of trying to alleviate the famine in the food gap in Sudan. And this is why we are seeking to engage with celestial actors, shall I say. And here in Utah, we find receptivity and hospitality, and also solid promises rest on the family bedrock and on faith. Sudanese people are really very religious people, and we find it no alien element that this can proximate the distance between both of us as parties. So we are looking forward for the donations of the Utah citizens in order to try to isolate the foreign element of the donors who are politicizing the donations.
Yeah, so give us a sense or describe for us kind of that connection. You mentioned St. Augustine and kind of this practical way that you bring faith into the public square, and where people of faith, of all faiths, can come together and do things that maybe government or even NGOs can't.
Interreligious bonding, across faiths is really very meticulous in this time, as international order is bedeviled by havoc, wars, and disruption. And I think in Utah, as I told St. Augustine's City of God, and yesterday I touched base with it. and it was fascinating and magnificent with this kind of large-scale city, including teaching, university, multilingual, multilateral studenthood, and receptivity, this diplomacy I've never seen in the real world of diplomacy. So I felt very blessed.
It is a unique place. We often call Utah the crossroads to the world, and it feels like that's what you have experienced, and hopefully what you'll be able to take back.
Definitely, I'm taking away many things, including support life, not lifestyle, including family as a bedrock, and we have substantiation of family in Islam from the Quran and the prophetic traditions. And Sudanese are really very faithful people who are loyal to Allah, and we share also this characteristic. So let us aim for humanitarianism unbound and unscathed by profanity.
Oh, I love that. I think that's so important, and I think it is that interconnectedness that I think is so important. And I know there are things for all of us to learn from each other. As you think about the people here in Utah and in the United States more broadly, what's the one thing that you hope they will think about Sudan or think differently about Sudan?
Yes, we need them to think differently because U.S. has, as a state, has got international clout and it's a superpower. So we won't be happy if we are in difference with them. Number two, we need a working formula, a new working formula to try to resolve the backlogged issues. And we need also the U.S. when they come to the peace brokering, operations. They should be, they come with clean conscience. As I said, he come to equity, must come with clear conscience. And we appreciate the level of donations that made by the U.S. Over $1 billion, but actually we didn't see any difference on the field. And I think from Utah, we can launch an appeal to humanity unbounded and based on faith and reciprocity, celestial reciprocity, and to try to undo the suffering of the Sudanese people and the displaced who are largely affected by a war of aggression, not of their making.
And that we're not of their making, the innocence. I think that's so important. And I love the way you've described it, Mr. Ambassador. We often talk about it in the context of when we see the humanity of one another, we can see the dignity. And if we see the dignity, we can actually catch the divinity. As you said, that binds all of us, and we all have a responsibility to come together.
Definitely. This providential dimension is very important in anything because we have had enough of the post-industrial world blunders, and we need to try to undo most of the dead wood, to cleanse the dead wood in international order. And I think I would suggest that faith communities should come forward with their own recipe, with their own formula to try to undo much of this, unnecessarily profane outcomes that has been replete in many ways and also disruptive of humanism or humane people to come together.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That is fantastic perspective. Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us today. Great perspective.
Thank you very much for having me today with you.
Great perspective from His Excellency Ambassador Idris from Sudan. And I love the way he framed it. The binding across faiths was one of the takeaways that he had from his time here in the state of Utah. How those of Islam, that they were family focused and connected. And that we all need to tap into this humanity unbounded to look at all the issues around the world, particularly the humanitarian crisis inside of Sudan, but that those solutions come as we connect with one another as individuals and as societies. We'll be right back.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. A lot can happen while you're at work.
Putin is claiming Ukrainians are using U.S. and NATO arms.
More storms are going to roll across the state.
No accidents on any of your Salt Lake County freeways.
Catch up on your drive home.
Scores of U.S. fighter jets will soon be heading to Israel.
Jeff Kaplan's afternoon news gets you current, and his trademark Minute of News will get you thinking.
Swapping the hot dog, you lower your risk of dementia by 20%.
Jeff Kaplan has you covered 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
High five! Up top! Heck yeah!
Dave's company just got the first ever 5-year price lock guarantee from Comcast Business.
Yeah, 5 years!
It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
High five for gig speed.
5 years of advanced security.
Security win.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Our rate ain't changing.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability.
There it is.
He hasn't given this many high fives since Deborah brought in her famous banana bread.
Woohoo!
Now he's got savings.
I'm so excited.
Yep. Dave's feeling it, but it's only for a limited time, so don't wait. Switch today and ask how to get the first ever 5-year price lock guarantee from Comcast Business. Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
And it's hurting, but I am not stopping.
Woo! Ends 8/21/24. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, debunking 3 myths about fiduciaries. And you're going to be surprised about myth number 3. Myth number 1. Fiduciaries are too expensive. Not at Trajan Wealth. Our interests are aligned with yours, so we don't need to push costly investments. The more you make, the more we make. It's that simple. Myth number 2. They will only want to sell me something. Absolutely not. At Trajan Wealth, we have hearts of teachers, and it's our goal to educate and empower, not sell. And the biggest myth? Myth number 3. Fiduciaries are only for the wealthy. Not at Trajan Wealth. Whether you have 50 grand or 50 million, we know it was hard-earned and we'll treat it as such. Let's grow together. So, here's your opportunity for 100% complimentary professional Q&A. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
If you're looking for the perfect balance in a perfect meal, you're looking for Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. You're going to love the incredible choices. They've got it all, of course. It's a steakhouse, but they also have seafood and poultry, all kinds of amazing side dishes, and the desserts are absolutely off the chart. Incredible choices are waiting for you right now at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And it's been a long summer. The kids are getting back in school. It's time for you to have a break. Make your reservation now for Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and let the pros do all the work. And they have 2 locations, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in Hotel Park City and right in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City at 275 Southwest Temple. And don't forget, if you're planning for a party, a special event, a celebration, or a birthday, whatever it might be, it's time to contact Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, Park City and downtown Salt Lake City.
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station, he knows getting the ventilation right is critical for safety. That's why when questions arise, there's Grainger. Grainger offers detailed technical product information online at his fingertips, so it's easy to find what he needs. Because when it comes to safety, having answers means he and his people can breathe a little easier. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
We all know what UV rays can do to our skin, but they can also do damage to your car. Keep that from happening with 303 Protectant. 303 Protectant keeps the sun's harmful rays from causing fading and cracking in rubber, plastic, or vinyl surfaces. From the dashboard to the tires, 303 Protectant keeps your car looking new longer. Get 303 Protectant today at Advance Auto Parts. Visit 303radio.com for more information.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, inflation in the United States increasing at a rate slower than it has been the past 3 years. In Utah, moving even slower. Second, an Ohio police officer facing criminal charges, including murder, for fatally shooting a pregnant black woman. Third, 1 in 5 children in Utah suffer from mental or emotional disorders. Many of them go unnoticed by their parents. 79 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
Well, the election may well come down to the candidate who centers the right economic message within their campaign. Of course, we've talked about the Democrat National Convention starting next week in Chicago. Kicks off on Monday. It's going to spotlight and highlight Vice President Kamala Harris. We'll also have a few voices from the past will be chiming in over the course of the 4 days. It will give them an opportunity to lay out both their policy and their ideas of what they're against when it comes to the former president. But more importantly, they're going to have to lay out their own economic vision for the next 4 years. And that is something that the vice president is going to do starting on Friday this week from North Carolina. Currently, we're watching on the screen, former President Donald Trump is laying out some of his economic message. And he hasn't quite got to the economic part of the message. It's a little bit more of a campaign-style rally at the moment, but we'll continue to keep our eye on that to see if there are any interesting things from a policy perspective that we should dig into. Now, communication strategy is always a big part of all of this, and so there's some things that we should be looking at and a few things we ought to be hoping for regardless of who you're voting for. The things that will simply create a better conversation, a better debate, because that is a good thing. America's always at its best when we're a country of big ideas and competing ideas, and that we let those ideas play out, because that's when we get to the best results and the best solutions. And so the trick will be, the test will be, for each candidate and each campaign to lay it out. Now, I actually thought Nikki Haley, who had an interview on Fox News yesterday, with a little bit of advice for the Trump campaign about their messaging if they actually want to win in November. And I think she actually got it right.
The Republican Party needs to make a serious shift here. And the first thing is the Republican Party, Donald Trump, people here at Fox, quit complaining that she's not giving an interview. You don't need an interview from Kamala Harris.
That's a spot-on statement. If you are so worried about what someone else is doing or not doing, what your opponent is doing or not doing, it's probably because you're losing. Just like we always say, if you're complaining about the rules or the referees, it's because you're losing. And so I think the fact that everyone has suddenly bought into this, oh, she's ducking the press, where's Vice President Harris? If that's what you're yelling about, I've seen so many campaigns actually have debates about debates. And the side that wants to debate will start putting cardboard cutouts of their opponent in front of microphones to do a mock debate because they won't show up. That is the lose, 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 lose message for a campaign. I've never seen one win a campaign because they went after that. And so those that are using all the oxygen they have to say, she's not doing any interviews. She hasn't done a sit-down interview. She hasn't done a press conference yet. She doesn't have to. If I were advising Vice President Harris right now, she shouldn't. At least not until next week. Why? Because it's carrying the day. And until the Republicans put forward something to change the dynamic, there's no reason to change. Now, Nikki Haley also emphasized what I think is the more important point, and that is you got to pivot to a message, a vision of not what you're against, but what you're for if you want to win.
We are 80 plus days out. We need him to win. But you got to go out and do the work. And the one thing Republicans have to stop doing, quit whining about her. We knew it was going to be her. She's not going to give an interview. They're going to hold out as long as they can. That's their right. They can do it. That doesn't mean we can't talk about what she believes in.
She has been right on all of this. You may recall we had Nikki Haley, former ambassador, when she was a candidate for the Republican nomination. We actually had her on the show, and she said it back then. It is going to be whoever is running for the Republicans will be running against Kamala Harris. She was right. And she also said, look, if all we're going to do is do grievance politics, that's not a winning combination. It may have worked in 2016, It didn't get across the line in 2020, and it's certainly not going to be the winning formula for 2024. I think she got all of that right. It's easy to be against things. It takes leadership to be for things. And where we are today, the American people want you to be for something, not just against things. We get that. And sadly, both sides are kind of bowing to the against kind of political rhetoric. Today, J.D. Vance campaigned in Michigan, highlighting the meaning of Make America Great Again.
When we say that we will make America great again, we mean something simple. Safe streets for our families, a secure border, affordable food for our children, and the American dream, whether it's to buy a home or to see your children do better off than you did, that is achievable again. Let's get it done.
Kamala Harris's running mate, Governor Walz, campaigned in Los Angeles today to a union crowd and contrasted their campaign vision on the economy to that of former President Trump.
The only thing those two guys knows about working people is how to work to take advantage of them. Every single chance they've gotten, they've waged war on workers and their ability to collectively bargain to take that away from them. All we're asking for is better wages, better benefits, better lives, and dignity in the work that we do.
Yeah, some things to cheer for in both of those statements for both J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. Also some things that you can say, yeah, maybe, but not really. And for a lot of Americans, they're so exhausted and exasperated by that kind of conversation that a lot of folks just tune out. So let's not worry about this little idiosyncrasy or that idiosyncrasy. Let's just get to the principles and the policies. What principles animate you as a candidate and are going to drive you to good public policy? What does that look like? If we can get to that conversation, we can have a much better conversation. Now, we'll talk about some of the other components from a communication strategy as we round out the show in our last segment coming up at 2:50. We'll talk about what Vice President Harris needs to do over the course of the convention in Chicago. And will too many big names crowd out Vice President Harris or set her up for a tough act to follow when it comes Thursday of next week in Chicago? All right, we'll step aside for some bottom of the hour news. More Inside Sources coming up next. Stick around. We'll be right back.
It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour: Utah County cleaning up after yesterday's torrential storms. And Orem Mayor David Young tells David Dujanovic the rain they got exceeded what anyone anticipated when they built the storm overflow system.
Our stormwater system became pressurized, and so our manhole covers were popping up. These are 100-pound manhole covers. All of our detention basins were filling up, and they're categorizing this storm event that it may have exceeded the 100-year storm event.
Young says multiple city departments working to clean up the mess. They had some trees fall on houses and lots of debris flowing out of Rock Canyon. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. NASA has not yet made a decision on how to bring two astronauts home who traveled to the International Space Station aboard Boeing's Starliner capsule. The capsule has had some mechanical issues when it flew up there. NASA says they're expecting some new data next week that will help them decide if the astronauts can ride the Starliner home or if it'll have to come back empty. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day now, 242 points at the close of trading. The NASDAQ was up just 5 points, and the S&P 500 up 20. And our KSL weather. We've had some rain this afternoon. That might be done now. That's next. KSL News Time 2:31.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio. With interest rates coming back down, I bet the real estate market will pick back up in 2024. We're already seeing that, Tim.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter how the market is doing when you have the right team. So if you're looking to sell your house, now you want to downsize or you need more space, you need the Stern team.
The Stern team has taught us, I can think of a handful of things that I would worry about if I was buying or selling, but there are 100 details
that are involved in selling a home, and they have lots of people that are handling every detail so nothing falls through the cracks.
And they have so many different options. I mean, I worked with Cammie there at the Stern team, and she was awesome. But if you need an instant cash offer, you can do that. If you need to buy before you sell, you can do that. They have flexible fees.
They also have people that they represent that are looking to buy a home, so maybe they can make that perfect connection within the Stern team.
So don't put off selling your house or buying a house because you think the market isn't just right. The market is right with the Stern team.
Go online to sternteam.com or just Google the Stern team.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Let's face it, nothing makes you look older than you really are than thinning hair. But what if you could not only increase your hair count, but promote new hair growth without surgery, without drugs with potential side effects, and without a prescription from your doctor? Well, now you can, thanks to a breakthrough new supplement called Hair Grow, provided by New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Europe. Hair Grow is now available in the U.S. Only Hair Grow contains Tocogaya, a powerful antioxidant that has received a U.S. patent. Multiple clinical studies show Hair Grow is safe and effective in promoting new hair growth. In one study, 95% of the patients using Hair Grow saw increased hair count. Don't lose more time and more hair. Try Hair Grow today to feel and look your best. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS. Look younger and feel more confident with Hair Grow by New Nordic at NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
Right now, emergency crews are arriving on the scene of a crash, possible rollover. One vehicle went completely off the road. This is in Parley's Canyon. Westbound I-80 approaching Lambs Canyon. They are out of traffic on the left shoulder. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Looks like we've got some more rain this afternoon, and we'll see a high of 88. Then partly cloudy tomorrow and Friday with highs rising into the 90s. And right now, we're at 80 degrees. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, it was on August 4th, 1935, that the Social Security Act was signed into law by President Roosevelt, and we've probably been arguing about it ever since. All the highs and lows, all the things it was supposed to do, that it did do, that it didn't do, and the fact that we are to a very crucial conversation now in terms of it's about to not be able to do anything as we march our way towards it becoming insolvent. And so it's time to have a serious conversation, 89 years in terms of what it is, what it was supposed to be, what it's morphed into, and then most importantly, what does the future look like? And really thrilled to have joining us on the program today, Andrew Biggs. And Andrew, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So give us, for our listeners, just kind of give us a little walk through history here in terms of Social Security. Where have we been, and most importantly, where are we and where are we headed? Oh, I think we just lost Andrew. We'll get him back.
I am back.
Oh, there we go. There he is. All right. Now you can take us on that walk through. I mean, I thought maybe you were going in the time machine. You're going to take us a walk back. Walk us through some history there.
Well, you are right that Social Security was controversial from the very beginning. At the time the Social Security Act was passed in 1935, it wasn't even clear that it was constitutional for the federal government to set up and run a program like Social Security. That was tested in the Supreme Court. You may remember from your history classes of, whether FDR was going to pack the Supreme Court. But it's been a massive issue ever since then. Today, Social Security is the largest federal government program. The Social Security payroll tax, a 12.4% tax, that's the biggest tax most people pay. Social Security is the biggest source of income for most retirees. And within a decade, the Social Security Trust Fund is scheduled to run dry. And what that means is that we have some big decisions to make over this very large and very important program.
And I love the way you framed it. You had a great piece in Forbes talking about the fact that half of retirees are going to run out of money. And you said that's actually the good news. Walk us through that piece of the program.
Well, I'm one of the rare people who thinks that the U.S. retirement system actually works pretty well. And so you get these stories claiming that we're all going to run out of money. I think that's in fact not true. Americans are saving more for retirement today than they ever did before, and retirees' incomes are higher than they ever were before. It's a very worrying topic for people, but it's in truth, overall retirement security is working pretty well. The big problem is that Social Security is a huge part of that, and to be frank, Congress's stewardship, its management of that has really been very poor. They've known literally for 40 years we face this long-term funding gap, driven by population aging and rising costs, and yet they've done nothing about it. So that is really a major source of worry for most Americans.
Yeah, and walk us through that. We like I said, this is 40 years in the making. We often get after Congress just for not remembering that September 30th comes every single year. And that's when they have to have the government funded by, and yet they kick the can down the road and they dither and they don't do one of the few things they're supposed to do. But the same is true when it comes to Social Security, in that no one seems to be serious about having a conversation that we know what's coming. How do we start changing that dynamic in terms of how do we get to the crucial conversation that clearly we have to have, or we know it is actually going to hurt the poor and the most vulnerable the most if nothing happens?
Well, ultimately, Social Security is a political problem. And when I say political, I don't mean Democrats versus Republicans. But what I mean is that most elected officials don't want to tell citizens and voters bad news. They don't want to tell them, well, we promised you if you paid this tax rate through your working career, you're going to get this level of benefits in retirement. We know those promises can't be kept. They're mathematically incompatible with each other. So they have to change. The problem with Social Security, though, as a government pension program compared to a private pension, is that Congress always has the option just to do nothing, to kick the can down the road. If Social Security were a private pension, every year by law they'd be required to make changes to keep the system solvent. With Social Security, they don't. And that means that it's likely, I hate to say, that Congress is not going to attack the Social Security problem. They're not going to address it until right before the system goes insolvent. Right now, the retirement trust fund is projected to become insolvent in 2033. If that happens, you'd have to reduce benefits by around 21%. Now, for the richest retirees, that's not such a big deal. The poorest retirees, that's a massive problem. Yeah. And so there is talk in Congress, again, of having a bipartisan commission that would look at Social Security and other entitlement programs to try to find some compromises that we can do today. Because if you wait to the last minute, it's like doing your homework at the last minute. The result is never a good one.
Yeah, that's right. And we've seen what Congress does when they wait to the last minute. It usually doesn't end well. And as you mentioned, kind of that automatic cut of 20 or 21% is going to impact those low-income seniors the most. And yet it seems that Congress is so worried about as you said, it being a political issue, and if you mention it, that we need to address it, then suddenly, there are TV ads running against you in your reelection campaign saying you're ready to push grandma off the cliff. Is a commission like that, is that a necessary first step to create space for the conversation to happen?
Ideally, it wouldn't be. Opponents of
Yeah.
commissions say, these are not exactly democratic, who
Right.
voted for these people. And that's 100% correct.
Yeah.
My response is that Congress has had 40 years to get on top of this problem, and they've shown they're not willing to do it. In a sense, our presidential candidates have never been more united on Social Security. Kamala Harris says she doesn't want to cut benefits for anybody today or in the future. Donald Trump says he doesn't want to cut benefits for anybody today or in the future. Neither of them have proposed a tax increase necessary to keep that promise. So in a sense, we're almost worse off today than we were, say, under, I work for George W. Bush. He said, I want to keep Social Security solvent. I want to reduce benefits to the middle and upper income people. And people could agree or disagree with it, but it was actually a plan that would have worked. Today we have promises, but we don't have plans.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, the system hasn't worked. And Congress I wish it were different, but it's not.
Yeah.
So a commission might be the best bet.
Yeah, and political promises always sound nice on the stump and on the campaign trail, but you got to have a plan, and you got to get to the good policy to make it happen. Andrew Biggs, Senior Fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, studies Social Security reform, state and local government pensions, public sector pay benefits. He's Associate Director of the White House National Economic Council back in 2005. And Andrew, love the perspective, and we look forward to having you back to continue this one. It's not going away, and if we have to, we've got to force this conversation to happen in our nation's capital. Thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Happy to talk.
All right, again, that's Andrew Biggs, Senior Fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. If we don't have the conversation, it will get worse. Everyone's saying we're not going to touch anyone, we're not going to hurt anyone, we're not going to do that. And if we don't do anything, we're going to hurt everybody, especially the poor and the most vulnerable. We have to have the Social Security conversation. We'll be right back.
That precious cool air inside your house shouldn't be seeping out through old drafty windows, but if it does, get stylish new windows and frames at factory direct pricing from Advanced Window Products. This is Jeff Kaplan. Advanced Window Products has been building windows here in Salt Lake City for 38 years. But even if you don't need windows, they can give your interior a fresh new look with blinds, shades, and shutters from Graber. They offer custom crafted window treatments featuring the trendiest designs, premium materials, and quality without compromise. Advanced Windows offers start-to-finish service with shorter lead times so you get your custom blinds, shades, and shutters sooner. Call them for a free in-home consultation with their designers. It's a no-pressure experience, and if you need new windows, $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Or if you need window treatments, it's Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindowsusa.com.
If you're listening to this Gerber Life Guaranteed Life Insurance ad, there's a good chance that you're alive. And if you're not, well, this may not be of interest to you. Now, I know what you're thinking. Life insurance, I'm going to live forever. Death is what happens to other people. Well, for the sake of argument, let's assume you're wrong and that someday you won't be listening to the radio anymore. I know it's not easy to talk about, so I'll do the talking. If you're 50 plus and alive, or 50 to 75 in New York, you can apply for Gerber Life Guaranteed Life Insurance with guaranteed acceptance regardless of your health. And since this life insurance is guaranteed, you don't have to get a medical exam. In fact, you don't even have to fill out a health questionnaire. For a free quote, call 888-532-5016. Then, when you stop, if you stop listening to the radio, your family can use the insurance money to help cover your final expenses or anything else. Your kids already inherited your ears, allergies, and questionable singing voice. Don't make them inherit your final expense tab too. For a free personalized quote, call 888-532-5016 today.
For over 22 years, speaking on business on KSL News Radio has been a beloved tradition, celebrating our heroic business leaders and Utah consumers who have helped build one of the strongest state economies in the nation. Now, under the stewardship of the Salt Lake Chamber and hosted by Chamber President and CEO Derek Miller, the program continues to shine a spotlight on those who make Utah's business environment dynamic and thriving. With his expertise and passion, Derek brings the stories of our business community to life. As part of the Salt Lake Chamber, Speaking on Business is proud to continue its legacy of highlighting inspiring stories, trends, and special guests. Support Utah businesses now and be part of Utah's thriving economy. More information can be found at slchamber.com. That's slchamber.com.
When I was looking for the best way to get rid of all the unwanted fat weight I'd accumulated over the last couple of decades, I wanted two things. One was something fast, and two, something that was guaranteed to work. I found both in Soda Weight Loss. I wanted fast and effective? How about letting go of 70 pounds in just 5 months? Soda's great because it doesn't involve any injections or pills. Sure, those might work in the short term, but what happens when you stop taking them? You very often gain it all back and then some. Soda's program delivers results that last a whole lifetime. Find out why Soda is the #1 weight loss company in America for client satisfaction and client results. Go to sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Click the Request a Nutritionist callback button. Within minutes, you'll be on your way to getting back your confidence, improving your health, and learning how to keep it like that for the rest of your life. Remember, SOTA stands for State of the Art.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
August is National Cashback Month. Didn't know? Okay, maybe it's not National Cashback Month. But at Hercules First Federal Credit Union, they think a cashback month is a great idea.
It's a great idea!
Told ya. So get ready for cash back in August. But first, let's talk benefits of being a member at Hercules. You'll receive $150 when you open a new checking account with a qualifying direct deposit, as well as getting access to travel rewards and cash back with the Hercules Lifestyle Rewards debit card. Get up to 25% cash back when you use Ticket Express to purchase tickets for theme parks, movie theaters, and local events through August 31st. Details await at HerculesCU.com. That's HerculesCU.com. Hercules Credit Union. Growing stronger together. Equal housing lender. All accounts insured to $250,000 by NCUA.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the amount of rain in Utah County exceeded what anyone anticipated when they built the storm overflow system. Second, NASA has not made a decision on how to get 2 astronauts home who traveled aboard Boeing's Starliner capsule. And third, Phil Lyman says he plans to run as a write-in candidate for governor in November after the Utah Supreme Court dismissed his lawsuit. 80 degrees and partly cloudy right now. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Boyd Matheson divides rage from reason on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson. As we round out the show today, we're going to go back to this whole idea of the communication strategy. And again, regardless of where you fall politically, we're just going to talk a little bit about the strategy that the Harris campaign is engaging in and what they're going to do next week, which I think is going to be high wire, pretty complicated to pull off, and it will be interesting to see if they can do it. Now, obviously, the vice president has not done any interviews, no sit-downs, no press conferences. Of course, the Republicans are howling about that to their own detriment because I think that's bad strategy. If you're just whining and complaining, that rarely takes you where you want to go. So let's look at the pro side in terms of what the Harris campaign needs to do as they begin their convention in Chicago starting on Monday. Now, Vice President Harris is not really a consensus candidate when it comes to the Democrats, although she was able to consolidate the delegates in breathtaking speed. Like, it was amazing that everyone said, you know what, this is what we're going to do. Everyone got on board. There was no messy fights. There were no other names put forward. Nobody else stepped up and said, hey, I think I want to try or throw my hat in the ring. It just didn't happen. Now, on one hand, that makes it clean. It makes it simple. But it's part of that, have you been battle tested? And so that's going to be the challenge rolling into next week. And so part of what Vice President Harris is going to be looking for in the context of the campaign is some of that referent power, other powerful people saying nice things about Vice President Harris, because she has to build that. She has to build trust. She has to build credibility. But there's a fine line when it comes to that kind of power and that kind of referent power in particular, because sometimes if you overdo it, you undermine the candidate. And this is where I think the challenge is going to be for the Harris campaign. They have a big list of big-name speakers, and this is just the short list. There are many, many more who will speak over the course of the 4 days. And while they can give a lot of credibility, and they can validate, say, hey, I'm in for Vice President Harris as the candidate. I believe she's the one to do it. They can do all of that. But here's what it looks like. On Monday, you'll have the current president of the United States, her boss, Joe Biden, will be speaking on Monday night as the keynote speaker, along with former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Now, both of those individuals have been around politics for a very, very long time, and they will have something to say. And will they be able to focus on Vice President Harris and her resume and her credentials, or will they be reliving the past and validating their own? That's the test. If all they do, if President Biden just gets up and talks about his record and what he's done and his 50 years in the public sphere, I don't think that's helpful to Vice President Harris as a candidate. Same with Hillary Clinton. If the former secretary is up talking about all the things that she did, you can give a little bit of that. That's okay. But again, you have to look at what is the purpose of the speech. And it'll be a good test for a lot of the speech writers. So you have those two folks, the current president and former Secretary of State Clinton, speaking on Monday. On Tuesday, you'll have Barack Obama addressing the crowd. And then you'll have, the following day, you'll have Bill Clinton addressing the crowd, along with Governor Walz will make his appearance as the vice presidential nominee. Now, just in that context alone, that's a lot of firepower. That's a lot of star power when it comes to the Democrats. And will they suck up all the oxygen in such a way that by the time Vice President Harris steps in front of the teleprompters on Thursday, will there be anything left, and will she be able to meet the bar? It's going to be a high bar. It's going to be tricky. And so it will be very interesting to see how she navigates all of that, because I think the test is, you've heard me talk about this before, when it comes to politics and campaigns, it's not about what was or even what is, it's about what's next. And Kamala Harris is trying to be next, and she's trying to make next now. And that's a really hard thing to do just in and of yourself, but it is super hard when you have a whole lot of big names who lived and served in the what was category. What was back in 2008, 2012. You go through the Clintons back into the 90s. There's a lot of things that are going to be pulling things back. Kamala Harris has been talking about we're not going back. We're not going back. But guess what? The convention, you're going back. It's going to be a walk down memory lane. And the question will be, can there be just enough of that to get the crowd to nod along and remember some of the good moments, and then can they make the pivot into what's next? And they have to be careful. I think one of the other moments where we really saw that kind of miss in a moment was when you had the big battle on the Republican side between Gerald Ford and Ronald Reagan. And, of course, Ford ended up winning the nomination, but then he gave Ronald Reagan a chance to speak. And Ronald Reagan did what he did best. He spoke, and he knocked it out. And most of the people in the arena immediately thought, I think we chose the wrong guy. And so that's going to be the test for Kamala Harris. Will people leave saying, oh, kind of a longing for the Clintons and the Obamas? Or will they leave saying, we've got next? That's the test. And that's what the Democrats are going to try to pull off in Chicago next week. A lot of hurdles, a lot of barriers as that plays out. And again, those are just a few of the names. Just a few. There's going to be a lot. And the question will be, can they all keep the momentum and the focus going on what the purpose of the convention is? The Harris campaign, of course, has been able to ride some great momentum over the last 3 weeks as this all begins. But the test is the pivot, and the pivot starts next week in Chicago. And so that will be the ultimate test, I think, for the Harris campaign is can they pull that off in a way that allows everyone to say, yeah, past was really good. We had some great moments, but we're actually excited about what is next and what the future looks like. So if I were advising the Democrats, I would make all of those other players' speeches really short, which if you can pull that off with Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton alone, that is an Olympic level feat to keep those folks on message and under time when it comes to the convention. There'll be a host of other speakers that will chime in as well. And will it be about what was, or will it be about what's next for the Democrats in Chicago? We'll continue to track all of that. Well, that wraps it up for us on Inside Sources today here on KSL News Radio. I'm Boyd Matheson. Thanks for joining us. And as always, as you go out into the world today, make sure you see something that inspires, say something that uplifts, and do something that makes a difference.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan, 82 degrees, sunshine, blue sky. For the moment, KSL's top story. Taxes are going up in the Alpine School District. It'll cost the average homeowner about the same as a ticket to Lagoon. KSL News Radio's Britt Johnson with details.
Alpine School District Board of Education has voted for an increase of 4 tax increments after a public hearing last night. That's a total of about $107 a year for medium-valued homes. Alpine School District Director of Communications Rich Stowell says this increase will remain even if the district decides to split.
Much of the new funding will go toward their building fund and toward decreasing class sizes. The board chose to pass the tax increase now rather than later because of inflation. It'll just cost more.